Are you one of the 99.9% of dice makers in the world who absolutely hates sanding and polishing their dice? Well, you're in luck. Today I'm here with a review of the Let's Resin Sanding and Polishing Kit. I found this on Amazon and I was really curious to try it. I know what you're thinking, Sam. You keep reviewing Let's Resin molds and you're not nice to them. And I get that. I do. But I really thought that the concept of this kit seemed super interesting, and I'm very excited to try it out and give you all a full review so you can see if it is worth buying. As always, I purchased this with my own money. This was not gifted to me. I just thought it looked interesting and I wanted to try it. And I'm going to be testing this out on a D20 chunk because it's just a little bit bigger. And I thought for the sake of the camera and showing the progression in the sanding, it would be a little bit easier with a larger dice. Let's get into it. Before we get started, we obviously need to see what came in this Let's Resin Sanding and Polishing Kit. Not all of this stuff is going to be relevant for dice makers, but as you see here, sandpaper, which is, in my opinion, the most important thing. This is a really nice polishing cloth. Came with some just nice latex gloves, which is always handy. These giant brushes are probably not going to pertain to me. Nice scissors. And then these are all the same thing, just different sizes. They're almost like the files that you would use to file your nails, with a rough side and a polishing side. These metal sanding chisels, I don't really know what to call them, are probably another thing I'm not going to need to use. And then the sandpaper starts with 300 grit, and then we do 600, 1000, 1500, 3,000 grit, 5,000 grit, and 7,000 grit. So a nice array of sandpaper. This is the chunk I'm going to be polishing. I just want to give you a nice look at this so you can see where it is starting. You can very clearly see mold marks on that one face. You can see a couple scratches on the 7 face and just the adjacent sides. So these are the only sandpapers we're going to be using. I am not putting 300 grit or 600 grit anywhere near my resin dice. If you want to, that is your decision, but I'm going to be starting with the 1000. I like to cut these into smaller squares. I just find that the sandpaper goes a little further when I do that, but there's no science. That's just what I do. So we're going to go in order from lowest to highest. Here you see me starting with the 1000 grit. I do use water, so this is wet sanding, and I normally do about 60 circles, alternating directions so that I don't get circle marks as I'm sanding. And here you can see the finished 7 face. Then I'm going to move on and just do all the other sides really quick. Then we're going to move on to the 1500 grit. And again, I do about 60 to 70 circles of each grit before I move on. And I didn't mention it, I only sand the sides that are touching the cap. So all of the sides basically touching the one face. Now, if you have damage on any of the other sides of the dice, then you might need to polish that as well. But this was a pretty flawless dice from like a brand new mold. So it didn't need much. And I'm just moving along down the line from grit to grit. I'm only showing you the 7 face just because otherwise this would be a 45-minute long video. But you're seeing a nice progression of lowest to highest. And it's hard to see on camera. You're not seeing much of a difference, I'm sure, at this point. But mostly what we've been doing up until this 7,000 grit sandpaper is just removing micro scratches. So a lot of it you're really not going to be able to see, but I promise if you stop at say 3,000 grit, you're going to notice after your final polish. So I do the 7,000 grit for about 100 circles or so on each side because this one's really, really important for micro scratches. And I just take my time. I don't press super hard. I do spend a lot of time on this highest grit. And here you can see it's still not polished, right? We've only removed the micro scratches, but it still looks really dull. Here I am testing out the sort of shiny buff side of the sort of nail file they provided, but I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't really notice a difference even with polishing paste. So the directions on this kit say after you use all of the sandpaper to go ahead and polish it with just the polishing cloth they provide and a little bit of polishing paste. So here you see me going at this with just the cloth they provided and some polishing paste that I prefer to use. This is the Meguiar's, and I really like this one for hand polishing, not so much for polishing with my Dremel or my rock tumbler though. And I don't really see a huge difference here. So I'm going to do it my way. And that is, I'm going to grab a piece of the white Zona paper. This is like the sort of equivalent to the highest grit. And this one is designed for polishing. And I'm going to do about 100 circles on each face with that same polishing paste. And here you're going to see in a minute that we finally are achieving some of that absolutely brilliant polish and shine that we're looking for. This is what you want a finished dice to look like. The 15, which was never sanded and never touched a mold, now looks like the 7, and that's what you want. So I really do like this kit. I think it provided a lot of really useful tools. Notably, I really like the scissors. That sounds like such a weird thing to say, but the scissors are really good quality, and I love having extra scissors around my workshop, so I will take that. The sandpapers were great. I usually only sand up to 5,000 grit. It had never occurred to me to go to 7,000, and I definitely noticed a difference with the micro scratches. The polishing cloth is also very nice, even though I don't feel like it did a great job of polishing the sides that had been sanded. When I polished the entirety of the dice with a little bit of polishing paste in the cloth, it definitely made a slight difference. So it's nice to have on hand. It's always good to have a sturdy, good quality polishing cloth. Of course, there's a lot of things in this kit I'm not going to need. I'm not going to need these big paintbrushes. I'm probably not going to need these metal chisels. So I would say if you are interested in purchasing this Let's Resin sanding and polishing kit, this is probably a one-time purchase. You can always restock your sandpapers from your local hardware store or something like that. But I am glad to have some of the things that came with it. So overall, I would say for the money, this is a great one-time investment, but you probably don't need to buy it every time you run out of sandpaper. Thank you so much for watching this review of the Let's Resin Sanding and Polishing Kit. If you liked this video, please click like. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, please click subscribe. And if there's any products you want me to review, let me know. I always feel like I have a hard time finding things to review specifically for dice, but I always get excited when I find something new. So if you have any ideas or questions about anything that you'd like a little more information about, be sure to leave a comment and let me know, and I will do my best to get to it. I'll see you next time.